Okay, you made it to the conclusion paragraph. Well done. Um, so, the conclusion paragraph is basically three parts, much like the introduction is three parts. And I'm going to walk you through how to do that. So, the first thing you do is you go to your thesis sentence that you have in your first paragraph. Remember, that's the last sentence of your first paragraph. And you're going to take that sentence and you're going to rephrase it. You're not going to copy it word for word. You're going to rephrase it. It's the same idea, but you're going to use different words to kind of communicate it. You don't want to have an exact copy of it because, frankly, that sounds kind of elementary. So we want to rephrase it. So let me show you what I did. I'm going to go back up to my thesis. It's right here in the purple box. It says, one common theme found in the three stories of Joseph, Isabel, and Mahmoud is survival often depends on making sacrifices. That was my thesis. I'm going to take the same ideas, but just kind of reword it a little bit. So this is my rephrased thesis. In conclusion, notice the transition there. In conclusion, the theme, survival often depends on making sacrifices, is found in all three stories in the novel Refugee. So you can see it's really the same idea, I just kind of put it in different words. All right. In conclusion is a really good transition phrase to begin your concluding paragraph. I highly recommend it. And you're always going to start your concluding paragraph with your rephrased thesis. So what I want you to do is go to your organizer right now, take a look at your thesis, and think how you can rephrase your thesis. Use the in conclusion transition phrase to begin yours, and type that in your organizer now. Okay. The second part of the conclusion paragraph is to synthesize, and we've talked about this word before. This is when you're pulling all this information that you've been writing about, all the body paragraphs, all the evidence in your analysis. You're kind of pulling all those thoughts together and you're kind of synthesizing, or in a way, it's almost like summarizing them into a couple of sentences, maybe three sentences, just to kind of remind the reader what it is your essay was really arguing. What was the point of your whole essay? Okay. Now, if you remember, my essay was about how, in order to survive, people often make sacrifices. So I'm just going to kind of synthesize or pull all that information together in a couple of sentences. I wrote this. I said, all three characters demonstrate personal courage as they make sacrifices. These sacrifices are meant to save lives, lives of their loved ones, or even themselves. Saving lives is a heroic act, and Joseph, Isabel, and Mahmoud are definitely heroes. Okay? So it's just kind of synthesizing is pulling together your old ideas and kind of coming up with um, a new idea based on everything else that you've written. So I want you to think about how you can synthesize your ideas earlier in the essay, come up with two or three sentences that kind of pull it all together for this portion of your conclusion paragraph. I'm going to let you pause this video and go to your organizer. I would skim back through definitely the body paragraphs, and that will help you um, move into the synthesis phase. All right. And finally, the last part of your essay, you've made it to the final part of the conclusion, which is a call to action. Now, when you end an essay, you always want to leave your reader thinking about your ideas. So you give them something to think about. And when you're making an argument, sometimes it's kind of like persuasive writing. You're trying to encourage them to do something, maybe, or to think a certain way to try to get to agree with you. So I think the perfect way to end this essay would be for a call to action. What that means is you're going to challenge the reader to act or think about the refugee experience in about 2 to 3 sentences. Okay. Now that we've read this book, now that we've analyzed this book, we know the characters, we understand the refugee experience a whole lot better. from the Jewish refugees to the Cuban refugees to the Syrian refugees. So what can we do with that new knowledge? And this is the whole point of reading. How can this make us better people? What sorts of things can we do better in our own lives now that we've learned these big lessons? So this is how I ended mine, and notice how I'm asking the reader to do something. I wrote, although they are fictional characters, they represent real people making real sacrifices every day in order to survive as refugees. We must acknowledge, remember, and when possible, help refugees find safety, freedom, and a place to call home. Okay? So use that as inspiration for your own call to action. You're speaking in general now. You're not talking about the characters from the book. You always want to begin your essay broad in your introduction. You want to end your essay broad in your conclusion. And we're just talking about refugees in general and what the reader can do. So I'm going to let you go back and whip up your call to action, and you are done with your organizer.